everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of What's Behind the Mask. I'm Kat Toronto, but you also know me, of course, as my alter ego, Miss Meatface. I thought I would dedicate episode 6 to what I like to call my family iconography within my Miss Meatface work. So, as many of you know, incorporating different aspects visually of my family is very important within a lot of my Miss Meatface images. And I thought it only apropos, as I'm going to be visiting California soon, to dedicate this episode to the importance of family within my work. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. So as many of you know, of course, the vintage feel, the vintage aesthetic, vintage clothing, vintage props, vintage settings are very important for most of my work. But this isn't just because I like the look of vintage. This also goes back to my childhood, memories of my childhood, of growing up with my grandmother and my dad and going over to family members' houses. And so there's so much family iconography that I like to include, or at least try to include, in my Miss Meatface images, that I thought I would go through a few of these images of the most maybe iconic ones with you all, and just kind of explain the background and the little tidbits here and there, little secrets thrown in. Now, firstly, I think it's important that I tell you all a bit about my father. Because he is the one that really launched my interest in photography, and I probably wouldn't be where I am today without his influence and inspiration on me as a kid growing up. When I was a child, he worked in the photography department of a local junior college, and so on many days he would take me into work, and I have great memories of just hanging out in the photo lab department, going in and out of the dark room, watching him print, going to the studio, lighting, etc. It all just seemed totally magical and embedded this love of photography within me. Because, not only was I spending some really good quality time with my dad, but it was also super cool to see him creating these magical images. So that really sparked my interest. And then probably when I was about 6 years old or so, he got me a secondhand a little Kodak Instamatic camera, and I started taking my own photos, and so began my love of photography, I guess you could say. My dad was very much involved in the local photography and art scene, so I also remember going to loads of art openings with him, and I guess you could say schmoozing with all of the local artists, which also had a huge impact on me as a kid. I just absolutely loved it. And it's quite interesting because looking back, he not only inspired me to pick up a camera and start shooting, but he also, through his own images that were created in the 60s, 70s, and 80s even, he would go on to inspire the creation of future Miss Meatface images. Another really important detail to the Miss Meatface family iconography connection is that I grew up in one of the houses that my great-grandparents built in 1937 in Northern California, and then right next door to that house was another house that my great-grandparents had built and finished in 1916. So from a very early age, I was immersed and surrounded by family history. I remember my dad and my grandparents always telling me stories about my great-grandparents and what characters they were, and especially my great-grandmother Ruby. Of course, I never met her, but I had heard so many stories about her that it left such an impression in my mind that her personality and character, I think, transferred a lot into my Miss Meatface persona, and I incorporate a lot of what I imagine she might have been like, maybe, or just fun bits and pieces of stories into the Miss Meatface mythology as well. All of this family history suddenly became super important for me to document when I quit my job in 2015 and met my now husband and moved to the UK, because moving to the UK meant that I wasn't going to be seeing my family anywhere near as often as I had been, that I wasn't going to be able to visit these places that that are so important to me, like my dad's house and the house next door. And so when I started shooting Meatface more so and developing the Meatface persona, at this time, I was also still going back and forth from the UK to the United States because I hadn't procured my spouse visa for the UK yet. So it meant, I'd spend a few months in the UK and then go back to the United States and spend a few months. And when I spent those months in the United States, I was living with my dad in my dad's house. And this was the original family home built in 1937 by my great-grandparents. So this gave me the opportunity, the amazing opportunity, to memorialize and to capture these spaces and these houses that I remember so well growing up in as a kid, and all of the family stories connected to them. And there are a few images in particular that I thought I would share with you all, like the one that I'm going to put up here next. It's an image of my great-grandmother Ruby holding a postcard, and she's got a cute little scarf tied around her chin and sunglasses on. Now my dad took this photo of my great-grandmother, and I grew up with seeing it at my grandparents' house. It was taken in the 70s by my dad, and I always remember just going in and out of one particular room at my grandparents' house and always seeing this photo. And it obviously left quite an impression on me because later on in life, a few years ago, in fact, when I was at my dad's house and rummaging through some of the drawers in the kitchen at his house, I found that exact same postcard that she's holding in that photo. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to shoot Meatface in the same pose and everything with the same postcard. Like, how cool would that be? Like, that just makes me so thrilled thinking about things like this. So that's what I did. I shot Meatface as my great-grandmother Ruby holding that postcard. Another image that left a huge impression on me that was shot by my dad of my great-grandmother Ruby, yet again, is one where she is sitting in my dad's little MG sports car. And that, I love that photograph so much. And again, I saw it at my dad's house, and every day it just left an impression on me as a child. It's just such an iconic image of her. He still has the MG that is featured in the original black and white photograph. So I thought, oh God, perfect. Let's reshoot this as Meatface in the MG and reflecting back on his image that he created. So that was another really, really fun shoot to do. And it was just me and my dad. My dad was helping me. And it was really, really special having that connection with him. It's like, I was with him when I was a kid in watching him photograph, but then it was like the tables were turned, and now he was watching me photograph and helping me. So that's just, for me, that is so special, and it's really cool that I can do this with my dad and have him understand what I do and be supportive of what I do as well. On another visit back to California, I did a Meatface shoot in the backyard of the house next to the house that I grew up in. So this house had also been built by my great-grandparents, but it was a lot older. It was finished in 1916. But I had recalled finding a photo of my great-grandmother in the backyard of it, like a little 1960s square photo, like Kodak photo. And I found it again, and I thought, oh my gosh, how cool. I'm going to reproduce this, of course, as Miss Meatface. And you'll see in that photo the side by side of them both. I just love the juxtaposition of the old and the new, and me as Miss Meatface, who also kind of represents, I guess, both of my grandmothers, my great-grandmother and my grandmother. And yeah, and it's just my own way as Kat as paying homage to these two really amazing, strong women in my life. And even though I might not have known one of them or ever met her, I feel like in a way I'm able to speak to them or speak their stories through my Meatface work. And that's another really important thing for me, to play out these little Miss Meatface dramas in a way through my family, through my great-grandmother and my grandmother. Another Miss Meatface shoot that took place within one of my old family homes was the Pink Party shoot. which is actually one of my favorite Miss Meatface shoots so far. It was a lot of fun to do. I shot that inside the little Art Deco kitchen inside that house, and that was amazing. That was so much fun, and I feel so lucky that my family allowed me to go into these old spaces and shoot Miss Meatface. So putting Miss Meatface into these environments, these old family environments of mine, steeped in so much history and stories, it added so much more power and more heart to the images that I'm just so thankful that I had the opportunity of those 3 years going back and forth to be able to do that, and that my family welcomed me and supported me in taking these images and bringing Meatface into our family story. So there you have it, just a little bit of background information on my family iconography and how it's interwoven into my Miss Meatface images. It's something that is incredibly important to me because I love incorporating bits of my great-grandmother or my grandmother into the personality of Miss Meatface, as well as being able to document these spaces that may not always be here. And for my own family's sake, but also I think it's important to share with all of you. Now, before I sign off today, I just want to remind all of you that there is going to be a Miss Meatface extravaganza weekend at Cakeland in Los Angeles on April 1st and 2nd. That is right around the corner. So I'm going to be there selling all sorts of amazing Miss Meatface goodies, and Miss Meatface will, of course, be making an appearance. So there'll be some great photo opportunities. I'll be there signing books. You know, if you have any questions, just want to pop by and say hi and get to meet me, that would be fantastic. I want to see you there. Again, it's going to be April 1st and 2nd at Cakeland in Chinatown in Los Angeles. Of course, if you want to find me elsewhere online or drop me a note, I am on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, of course, YouTube. I'm also on buymeacoffee.com if you want to donate towards a pack of film. That would be amazing, and I really appreciate it. You can just go to buymeacoffee.com/missmeatface. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you all in episode 7. I'm Kat Toronto, also of Miss Meatface. This has been What's Behind the Mask.